Hello students. So let's start with the discussion of the paper. As you promised, it is NTA test number 44. So we'll have a detailed discussion about it. So this is our first question on the screen. So the magnetic needle of a vibration magnetometer is making 12 oscillations per minute. It is making 12 oscillations per minute and on the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. So I'm writing the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field is BH. When an external short bar magnet is placed at some distance along the axis of the needle in the same line, so that means there are two cases that is going to be implicated by the presence of this magnet. So we are having two cases. We are going to discuss, in fact, three cases. Well, so in one line, it making 15 oscillations per minute. And in the second case, if the poles of the bar magnets are interchanged, that means reverse. We are reversing the pole or after changing the polarity. Let's see what is happening to the number of oscillations that is making per minute. That means we are required to find out the frequency. So as we know that the time period of the vibration magnetometer is calculated as 2 pi square root of I by mb. So this is the time period. So frequency is directly proportional to square root of b because time period is inversely proportional to the square root of the magnetic field, and time period is inversely proportional to square root of b. So here we know that if I am taking this for Earth, the magnetic field is BH, and for the bar magnet, I'm taking it as B. So if I say in the initial condition in the case one, the frequency is directly proportional to square root of the Earth's magnetic field, horizontal component of it. Second condition's frequency is going to be when they both are in the same direction, so it is BH plus B. And in the third condition, we can write if they both are polarities are changing polarity. So it is BH minus B, right? BH minus B. Well, so let's go to the cases. So this is F1 and this is F2. So our F1 and F2 are given. So I'm writing down F1 by F2 is equal to square root of, it is equal to the square root of BH by BH plus B is equal to 12 by 15. So on further simplification, we are going to get it as 4 by 5. So let's square it. So it is going to be 16 by 25 is equal to BH by BH plus B. Actually, this one is going to give us the relationship between B and BH. So we can write 16 BH plus 16 B is equal to 25 BH. So in fact, we can write here like 9 BH is equal to 16 B, and B is 9 BH by 16, right? Okay. So this is the one of the relationship that we got it as. Let me write it as the option one. I mean equation one. So second, we are going to analyze with F1 and F3. F1 by F3, or I am writing it here like F3 by F1. F3 by F1 is coming as, okay. So F1 is already given as 12. So F3 by 12. So let's do one thing. Instead of B, we can write here 9BH by 16. 9BH by 16, right? So this is coming as F3 is equal to 12, that is F1, multiplied with square root of 7 by 16. 7 by 16 is coming out of this actually. You know that square root of 16 is 4. So I'm just taking it outside. It will become 3 square root of 7. We want to find out F3, but there is no option that is indicating 3 root 7. So let's take this 3 inside the square root. So it will become 9 into 7, that is 63. So answer is option B, that is square root of 63. Clear? Okay, let's move to the next question. Yes, this is very really easy. The current that is flowing in 3 ohm resistance we have to find out. The current that is flowing in the 3 ohm resistance we have to find out. Here you can see that this 3 and 6 are in parallel with each other. Actually 3 and 6 are in parallel with each other. So if first of all we have to first find out the net resistance of the circuit 3 and 6 are parallel and their combination are in series, like 3 into 6 by 3 plus 6, that is 18 by 9, that is 2 ohm, and 2 ohm and 1, that is 3 ohm, are in series with each other. So we can find out the current, that is 12 by 3, that is equal to 4 ampere. Current is coming as 4 ampere, right? So this 4 ampere has to be divided between 3 ohm and 6 ohm now. So let's find out that how much current is there in the 3 ohm resistance. So we can find out the current in the 3 ohm resistance is equal to total current, that is 4 ampere, multiplied with current divider rule. 4 into the parallel one, that is 6, divided by 6 plus 3. So it is coming as 24 by 9. So 24 by 9 is coming as 3, 8, and this one is 3. So this is coming as 8 by 3 ampere. This is coming as 8 by 3 ampere. So this is a very easy question. Question number 3 is on potentiometer balancing point. If the balancing length corresponds to the points P and C is given as 40 centimeter, we have to find out what is this balancing length. As we know that at the balancing length, no current flows through this. So whatever be the current is going to be supplied by it is directly going to flow like this, right? No current is going in this way. As we know that no current is going, so we can say that the ratio of these two is equal to the ratio of these two. So this 10 and 10 is going to give you 5. And we can directly write 5 by 4 is equal to 40 by L. So 5L equal to 160 and L is equal to 160 by 5, that is equal to 32 centimeter. That is equal to 32 centimeter. So that's the answer to the question. Question number 4. There is a square loop of side A is rotating about its diagonal with angular velocity omega in perpendicular magnetic field of B vector. It has 10 turns. We have to find out the induced EMF. We have to find out the induced EMF. Okay. So let's find out the induced EMF. So how to find out the induced EMF? As we know that induced EMF is calculated as E is equal to, I'm directly write down the form, minus N is the number of turns, here it is 10. Phi is the magnetic flux here, that is B vector dot A vector, that is BA cos theta. Here the angle is theta, which is equal to omega t. So phi can be written as BA cos omega t. We are required to find out the induced EMF. We are required to find out the induced EMF, that is equal to minus N d by dt of phi is equal to BA cos omega t, which is going to give you an answer of like plus NBA, because cos is going to become sine NBA omega, right? I'll tell you that why this A is not there and instead of that A square is that because the area is coming as A square. So we can write NBA square omega, then sine omega t. If you want to find out the maximum amount of EMF induced, this is going to be your answer because will be maximized by 1, right? So final answer is in the next option, that is in option D. So final answer is N. N is the number of turns, that is 10. So we can directly write down it as 10 BA square omega sine omega t. So the final answer is option D. Coming to question number 5, it says that there is a conducting rod of length L, that is 1 meter, is moving at a velocity of V, making an angle of 30 degree with its length. A uniform magnetic field B, that is equal to 2 Tesla, exists in a direction perpendicular to the plane of the motion. We have to find out the potential difference. So first of all, we have to find out the component that is perpendicular to the length, that is V sine 30, right? So EMF is BL V sine 30, sine 30 equal to 1 by 2. So that is BLV by 2. B is Your 2 Tesla length is coming as 1 meter, velocity is 4 divided by 2. So this is directly coming as 4 volt. But now the question is that which is at a higher potential. So we are going to use the palm rule. You can directly use like this is V sine 30 and your B vector is inside into the plane. So V cross B, your thumb's direction is going to give you the positive AMF side, I mean positive side of it. So it is plus and minus. So we can directly write down BA is greater than BB. So obviously BA minus BB will give you 4 volts. So answer is option B. All right. So let's move to the next one. It's question number 6. This type of question was previously asked in it also last year. Charge plus Q and minus Q are placed at A and B. The distance between them is given as 2L. We are required to find out that if we want to move another charge capital Q from C to D through the semicircular path in part 1, and in the second part we have to move it from C to infinity. So how much work is going to be done? Work done is equal to Q into potential difference, charge multiplied with the potential difference between 2 points. So let me first find out the potential at point C. Due to this plus Q, which is located at a distance of L from C, here the potential is plus KQ by L. And due to the negative charge, we are going to get it as minus KQ by L. So it is equal to 0, right? So the potential at this point equal to 0. We want to move it from C to infinity. What is the potential at this point? It is also equal to 0. So the work done is equal to 0. So we got the answer to the second part. We got the answer to the second part. Let's find it out for the first part, right? For the first part. If we wish to find out the answer for the first part, then for that we have to first find out what is the potential. We got the potential at point C is equal to 0. Let's find out the potential at point D. You know that at point D, we have the potential due to plus Q, which is located at a distance of 2L plus L, that is 3L. So we can write plus KQ divided by 3L minus KQ divided by L, right? Plus KQ by 3L minus KQ divided by L. And we already know the potential of point C, that is equal to 0. So let's find out what is the potential of point D. If we wish to find out the potential of point D, so we will be getting the answer as minus of 2kq, work done. I want to find out the potential, that is minus 2kq divided by 3L, right? I want to find out the work done to move it from C to D. So it's coming as minus 2kq and that bigger charge capital Q upon 3L. And here k is replaced as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. So we can write here like minus 2 by 3 into 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q, capital Q divided by L, right? So we can see this is coming as minus QQ by 6 pi epsilon naught L. But option A is not correct. Option B is second part is correct, but first part is plus. So we cannot use it. Let's move to the next two options. Yeah, option C is also incorrect. Final answer is option D. Final answer is option D. So let's move to the next question. And so this is the next question. There are two insulated charge sphere, radius R1 and R2 are having charge Q1 and Q2. They are connected to each other. Okay. We are required to find out the decrease in the energy of the system unless what condition is going to be satisfied. As we know that whenever this type of condition happens, like in this case, we can find out the decrease in the potential energy. Decrease in the potential energy, like you're going to connect it and the charges are going to be transferred till the potential are going to be equal. So we are going to get the decrease in the potential energy directly as we calculate in the capacitance. We used to calculate it as half C1 C2 divided by C1 plus C2 multiplied with V1 minus V2 whole square. Okay. Now this is going to be 0. This is going to be 0 if V1 is equal to V2. And what is the potential of these two spheres? It is going to be KQ1 by R1 is equal to KQ2 by R2. This K is going to kill this K. So Q1 R2 is equal to Q2 R1, right? This is going to be small q1 and small q2. Okay, final charges. So answer is option D. Question number 8. There are four very long straight wires, infinitely long straight wires. They are carrying equal electric currents in the plus z axis. Plus z axis is out of this plate, out of the paper, right? So they are arranged like this. This one is our x-axis, this is y-axis, and we have our four current carrying wires like this. Well, they're carrying equal amount of current, let it be I. So their positions are symmetric positions in all the directions. So it is minus a comma 0. And we want to find out that how much force is going to be applied by all these wires on this wire. You know that they both are carrying equal current, so equal direction are there, so they both are going to attract each other. So this guy is going to attract this wire with a force of F1, and as we know the distance are equal in this directions and they carry equal current, so we'll be getting F and F here. So what are the what are the components of this F along this direction? It is F cos theta and F cos theta. So, and F sine theta is going to be cancelled by this. These two are going to be cancelled. So the final direction of the net force on this wire is along the x-axis. This is in along the plus x-axis, right? So answer is option C. Answer is option C. This is our question number 9. Very common question. Proton, deuteron and alpha particle is moving with the same kinetic energy enter in a region of uniform transverse magnetic field. We have to find out the radius of their circular path. R equal to mv by qb. This is linear momentum, which can be written as square root of 2 mass into kinetic energy, right? 2 mass into kinetic energy divided by qb. Now come to proton. I have to write it as like 2 mass of proton, same kinetic energy k divided by q. Charge of one proton, I am taking it as EB. Okay. So similarly for the deuteron. Deuteron has a mass is like 2 into 2 mpk, but its charge is same as the proton. Sometimes we forget it in the exam, so don't do this one. So this is alpha particle is going to be square root of 2 into 4 times of mass of the alpha particle divided by k upon 2e into b, right? So after doing all these things, we are going to get a ratio of 1 is to root 2 is to 1. So final answer is option A. Final answer is option A. Question number 10. Stephen's law. The radiation emitted by a star. As we know that the radiant, according to the Stephen's law, the radiant energy emitted by a perfectly black body per unit area, right? As we know that E is equal to sigma, the Stephen's constant, T to the power 4. I'm just writing down the proportionality because all other things are remaining same. So it is directly proportional to the fourth power of it. Or if we can write it, otherwise we can write the radiation emitted is directly proportional to the a to the power t to the power 4. So we can write, if this emission is directly proportional to area is pi r square, so if 4 pi r square, so it is r to the power 4 t to the power 4. So radius is proportional to square root of e t to the power 4, right? E t to the power 4. So let's find it out. R2 by R1 is equal to square root of E2 by E1 into T1 to the power 4 by T2 to the power 4, that is equal to E2 is 10,000 divided by 1, okay, divided by 1, black body, T1 to the power 4, T1 to the power 4, that is 6,000 by 2,000 to the power 4. If you'll solve all these things, we are going to get it as 900 is to 1. We're going to get it as 900 is to 1. That's the answer of option C is the correct answer. Question number 11. It's all about an ideal gas taken through a cyclic process. So the first thing that should come to your mind is that in a cyclic process, the net change in the internal energy is equal to 0. Del U is going to be 0 for a cyclic process. Okay, let's find out the work done by the gas in the process C2A. We are required to find out the work done in the gas by a process C2A. So let's find it out. As we know that del U equal to 0, by using first law of thermodynamics, we know Q is equal to W. So how many processes are there? 1, 2, and 3. So we can write work done from A to B plus B to C plus A to C. As we know that in isochoric process, the work done is going to be 0, right? In isochoric process, the work done is going to be 0. And we can see that B to C is an isochoric process. The volume is not getting changed. So the work done is equal to 0. So work done from A to B is P del V. So the pressure is 10 and change in the volume is 1 plus from A to C. From A to C. And how much net heat is applied? That is 5. That is 5. So we can write 5 minus 10 is equal to minus 5 joule. That is the answer to the question, right? Question number 12. A gas mixture consists of 2 moles of oxygen and 4 moles of argon at temperature T. So let's first find out the internal energy of the gas. Total internal energy of the system we are required to find out. Internal energy of the gas is equal to F by 2 nRT. Now we have to find it out for oxygen plus for argon. Oxygen is diatomic, so I'm going to write it as 5 by 2 into number of moles 2 RT plus argon is going to give you 3 monoatomic, it is 3 by 2. How many moles are there? 4 moles of argon is there, so RT. So 2 and 2 are gone, so this is going to be 5 plus 6, that is 11 RT. 11 RT is the final answer. Question number 13 is given that a gas is expanding adiabatically at a constant pressure. The gas is expanding adiabatically at a constant pressure such that its temperature is directly proportional to 1 by root V, right? T is proportional to this much. So if I'm going to summarize these things, what is Cp by Cv? Cp by Cv is equal to gamma. In fact, we need to find out the gamma value of it. So from this expression, we are going to get T b to the power 1 by 2 is constant. And as we know that for an adiabatic expansion, T b to the power gamma minus 1 is constant. So in fact, can't we write gamma minus 1 is equal to 1 by 2? So what is gamma? Gamma is 1 plus 1 by 3, 2, right? So it will be equal to 3 by 2, that is equal to 1.50. that is equal to 1.50. Clear? Clear? Okay. So let's do this one. There are two rods of length L and 2L having coefficients of linear expansion alpha and 2 alpha respectively are connected such that the total length is becoming 3L. Such that the total length is becoming 3L. So we are having two rods, right? So this is your L and this is 2L, this is alpha, this is 2 alpha. So the change in the length is equal to change in the length in the first part plus the change in the length in the second part. We are going to write the equivalent average coefficient of linear expansion, that is alpha equivalent. Total length is 3L del T. Del L1 is going to be written as alpha L del T plus 2 alpha, right? 2 alpha because for the second one is 2 alpha, original length is 2L del T because they all are heated to the same temperature. So 3 alpha equivalent is coming as 5 alpha. So we are going to write alpha equivalent is equal to 5 by 3. 5 by 3 alpha. Okay. So that is option C. That is option C. Now question number 15. The steam point and the ice point of a mercury thermometer. Mercury thermometer. What is the equation for a thermometer? The read between two thermometers, we know that reading of, as we know, this is going to be the reading of one thermometer minus uh, one is your ice point divided by steam point minus ice point is equal to, for the second thermometer, the same thing, reading of the second thermometer minus ice point of the second thermometer, steam point of the second thermometer, ice point of the second thermometer. So here, if I'll come to the first thermometer, the reading is given as 59 degrees centigrade. It is given as 59 degrees centigrade. So we are going to write it as 59. Ice point is 10. Steam point is 80 minus 10. And for the second one, it's going to be like Tc minus 0 divided by 100 minus 0, right? So finally, we are getting the value of Tc is equal to 70 degrees centigrade. It is equal to 70 degrees centigrade. Okay. Let's come to question number 16. There is a wire of 4 meter long and has a mass of 0.2 kg. The wire is kept horizontally. A transverse pulse is generated by plucking one end of the tight wire. The pulse is making 4 trips back and forth. 4 trips back and forth. That means time period is given here. Time period is given. 4 trips. Min to extreme, then extreme to one extreme to the mean, then again going back to the extreme and again coming back to the mean. So time period is given as 0.8 second. Okay. String that is fixed at both the ends. String that is fixed at both the ends. So how to find out the speed, wave speed? Wave speed is equal to 4 meter length, right? But 4 meter length is there, no? So how to 4 trips means total distance covered is going to be total distance by time. It is 4 into 4 trips means it is going to be 4 plus 4 8 plus 8 into her, that is 32 meter. 32 meter. That is 32 meter, right? Okay. How 4. So divided by the time period. Time period is given as 0.8. So it is coming as 40 meter per second, right? So it is 40. So as we know that V equal to square root of T by mu, while mu is the mass per unit length, mass per unit length. So we can easily find out mu. Mu is 0.2 kg divided by 4 meter, right? Just plug in all these values, that is 40 square equal to T by mu, and we got this value. Just multiply it, we'll be getting the tension that is equal to 80 Newton. That is equal to 80 Newton. Question number 70. It is given that there is a bus which is moving with a velocity of 10 meter per second on a straight road. There is a squid which wishes to overtake the bus. Very common thing. Immediately read the question, overtaking question. There are many ways we can also solve it by a relative velocity method, but okay, I'll just do it by the normal method. This is your bus which is moving with 10 meter per second. Now this is the situation when time is equal to 0 second, and a cyclist which is moving in a cycle, it has to run with V, let it be, at t equal to 0 second it has started its motion, and initially the distance between them is 1 kilometer, that is 1000 meter. Later t equal to t second, they both are going to meet at the meeting point. This point is M. So by that time some x distance is going to be covered by the bus, and but this cyclist is going to cover 1000 plus x, 1000 plus x. So we can write down the equation is like, but they both must have traveled for equal time, right? So we can write down that V into T should be equal to 1000 plus 10 into T plus 10 into T. Clear? Clear to all of you? Okay. So we are required to find out time period is already given as 100 seconds. Just plug in this value. We'll be getting the V. What should be the value of V? So we are finally you'll be probably getting it as 20 meter per second if you put all these values. Now this is question number 18. 18 is quite tricky question. Let's do it. When a man is moving down on an inclined plane with a constant speed of 5 meter per second. So I'm just going to draw two situations here. This is our case 1. This is our case 1 when the man is moving down on an inclined plane with a constant speed of 5 meter per second. Okay, so I'm just going to draw the situation here. Okay, so in this case, this angle is given as 37 degree. In the horizontal, that is 37, and the man is coming down. So if the velocity of this man is 5 meter per second here, so it is going to give rise to two components. This angle is 37, so this is going to be 37, and here one component. So this is 5 cos 37 is coming out to be 4 meter per second, and here it is going to be 5 sine 37, that is 3 by 5 is equal to 3 meter per second, right? So this is our velocity of the man is going to be written as, I'm going to take this direction as I and j, so we can write it as like minus 4 I cap minus 3 j cap. Similarly, I'm going to write down the velocity of the rain. I'm just taking the common direction of the velocity, let it be vr, and this one is a general direction, let it be theta, and this is direction. So this is going to be your vr cos theta, and this one is your vr sin theta. So if I wish to write down the velocity of the rain, so it is going to be Vr cos theta I cap minus Vr sin theta j cap. Now we wish to find out the velocity of the rain with respect to man. That means Vr minus Vm. If we'll find it out, it will be coming as Vr cos theta plus 4. Vr cos theta is the horizontal component of your rain that is falling down, plus 4 I cap, right? Negative and negative is going to give you plus of minus Vr sin theta plus 3 j cap. It's given that the rain is falling vertically down. If the rain is falling vertically down, so that means we can completely make this horizontal component as equal to 0. So we can write down Vr cos theta plus 4 is equal to 0. So which is going to give you VR cos theta equal to minus 4 meter per second. So one of the value of VR cos theta is calculated as. Now we will move to the next case. When the man is climbing the steps, climbing the inclined plane. So this is the case when the man is climbing it, and this angle is 37 degree, and this man is going to climb up with a speed of 5 meter per second. Now we are going to break it into two component, right? One is horizontal and the other one is going to be vertical. So I'm going to write here like 5 cos 37 degree, that is coming as 4 meter per second, and 5 sine 37, that is equal to 3 meter per second. Clear to all of you, right? So velocity of this man is already calculated to be 4 I cap. No, this time it is plus I cap and plus j cap, plus 3 j cap. For rain, we have already calculated it out to be VR cos theta I cap minus VR sin theta j cap, right? Okay. This time it is velocity of rain with respect to man, that is BR minus BB, is coming out to be BR cos theta minus 4 I cap plus minus VR sin theta minus 3 j cap. Clear? Okay. So tan theta is coming to be 7 by 8, that is as per the question. Okay, that means the angle between this one and this one is equal to 7 by 8. Fine. Up to this I'm keeping, and I'm going to remove this and we'll continue the in the next set. Okay. So let's write down that minus VR sin theta minus 3 divided by VR cos theta minus 4 is equal to 7 by 8. In the first equation, we have calculated the VR cos theta to be minus 4. So this minus 4 and minus 4 is going to give you minus 8. So I'm going to write it as minus VR sin theta minus 3 upon minus 8 equal to 7 by 8. So this is minus 1, right? So I can write down like minus of VR sin theta plus 3 is equal to plus 7, right? It is coming as plus 7. So we can write like, okay. So if I'll solve it, then we are going to get it as plus VR sin theta. I'm taking it to the other side. So this is coming as 4. This is coming as 4. Now I have two values. VR cos theta equal to minus 4. VR sin theta equal to plus 4. So in fact, we got the both the components of the rain, right? So if we got both the components of the rain and they're perpendicular to each other, so we can directly write down the magnitude or the speed of the rain is square root of 4 square plus minus 4 whole square. So which is 4 root 2 directly, but 4 root 2 is not there. So that means same thing. Square 4, get it inside the square root. It is coming as square root of 32 meter per second. So answer is option B. Answer is option B. Okay.